The two assassination attempts against former President Trump were within just 64 days of each other. But one sitting president faced two assassination attempts within only 17 days. Both occurred in California. President Gerald Ford, September 1975.
I saw a hand coming up behind several others in the front row, and obviously there was a gun in that hand.
The president had just survived an assassination attempt by Lynette Squeaky Fromm, who at point-blank range pulled the trigger of a Colt .45 caliber handgun. A Secret Service agent grabbed the gun, stopping a second shot at Gerald Ford, who managed to escape harm. And just 17 days later, another attempt, this time by another female, Sarah Jane Moore. That shot missed the president's head by 6 inches.
Both traumatic events, and I think really opened Americans' eyes, because prior to that, it was John Kennedy, obviously, who was assassinated. But it had been, even though we went through the turbulent 60s, we'd not seen attempts on Nixon's life, or up until that point on Ford's life.
Meredith College political scientist David McLennan has his own memory of seeing Gerald Ford and just how different the level of Secret Service was 49 years ago.
I remember when I was a child, I saw Gerald Ford before the assassination attempt. He was in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and I happened to be down there with my family. And, you could tell it was a motorcade going down Highway 17, but it was, I think, 2 vehicles with him, maybe 8 Secret Service agents.
This incident, under no circumstances, will prevent me or preclude me from contacting the American people as I travel from one state to another and from one community.
6 years later, another assassination attempt. President Ronald Reagan survived being shot and, like Gerald Ford, refused to let it keep him from being in public. But that was before social media, which can be filled with misinformation, and the 24-hour news cycle, adding an additional and, in some cases, enormous challenge to people whose job it is to protect the president.
That is so different than when we had the networks.
Here is a bulletin from CBS News. From Dallas, Texas, the flash, apparently official, President Kennedy died at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Being the primary television sources and newspaper being the primary print sources for people, it just simply was a different kind of political culture.
And Squeaky Fromm was paroled after serving 34 years in prison. Sarah Jane Moore was paroled after serving 32 years in prison.